As president of the League of Women Voters of Lower Cape Fear, I am pleased to call the 2021 annual meeting to order. Today's meeting is being recorded. Everyone, please mute yourself to limit background noise.
I will be.
The League of Women Voters was formed 101 years ago on February 14th.
Catherine is muted.
Yep, sorry. The League of Women Voters was formed 101 years ago on February 14th, 1920, even before the 19th Amendment was ratified. That's how sure the suffragists were that women would secure the vote. Those first members met during the Spanish flu epidemic, which killed millions around the globe. That pandemic did not deter them, and today's COVID-19 pandemic has not stopped us. Fortunately, we have Zoom to bring us together while staying apart. I think we've all learned a lot about Zooming in the last year. I certainly have. And we've practiced today to help it go smoothly. But please be patient with any hiccups, like if I forget to unmute. At this time, please find your own mute and unmute icon on your computer screen, usually at the bottom left of your Zoom screen. During the meeting, unless you are speaking, we will mute your mic. You will be asked to unmute yourself for voting purposes and discussion. Speakers will be asked to unmute themselves also. Thank you for letting us control your mic. So let's test it. Marlene, you ready? Everyone, please unmute yourselves. Marlene, now please mute everyone. Joanne, please show the order of business in slide 2. I would now like to begin by introducing your 2020-21 Board of Directors. They did an extraordinary job in an extraordinary year. Joanne, please stop sharing the slide. Everyone, please say hello as your name is called so your screen image will be highlighted. Our secretaries, Marilyn Pretty.
Good morning.
Treasurer, Bonnie Bichard.
Hello.
Our membership chair, Marla Barthen, is not able to attend today due to a recent death in her family, but our thoughts are with her. Our communications chair, Mary Ellen Cole.
Hello.
Voter Services in Brunswick County, Barbara Burrell.
Hi.
Voter Services in New Hanover County, Carol Ellis and Jonette Fields.
Hello.
At-large directors, Bridget Torrent and Lynn Curta, who has moved to Ohio.
Hi.
Bridget here. And me, I was president, Catherine Hitchcock. Additionally, our outstanding action teams were led by Ann Eidelman and Barbara Carbonaro in education, Beth Hansen for the environment, Gail Bromley, fair elections, and Bridget for women's issues. Marla also led our new diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. And our creative and talented communications team was Marlene Barney, Mary Ellen Coe, and Joanne Leviton. I would like to give a special shout out to 2 of our members who are not here today. Gail Bromley, who has led the campaign for honest elections and equitable voting districts for many years, stepped down as head of Fair Elections Action Team, not because she's giving up the fight, but because she and Tom are moving to California. Lynn Curta moved to Ohio this year. Her leadership of the Women's Issues Action Team, our centennial celebrations, and fundraising moved us forward on many fronts. We thank them for their passion and their dedication. The purpose of this meeting is to conduct the official business of approving our leaders, programs, and budget for the next year, and to celebrate this year's accomplishments. There is much to celebrate, but we also need to remember those who have been negatively affected by the upheavals of this past year. If you have struggled due to pandemic shutdowns, isolation, or job loss, please let us know if we can help. You are important to us, and we want to keep you engaged. Sadly, as was true last year, racial and social injustices continue to cause death, anger, and grief across the country. In response, we have made a commitment to understand and work to dismantle systemic racism. We believe in equity for all voters and that democracy is strengthened by the inclusion of all the diverse voices within our community. As articulated by the League of Women Voters US, the League is an organization fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in principle and in practice. DEI is central to the organization's current and future success in engaging all individuals, households, communities, and policymakers in creating a more perfect democracy. As the League proclaimed 101 years ago, we will always work to empower voters and defend democracy. I encourage each of you to find your personal way to support this important work. At this time, our Secretary, Marilyn Pretty, will give the arrangements report. Marilyn, please unmute yourself.
Good morning. Today there are 45 members attending the annual meeting. Our official voting number is 134. Our quorum is 34, so we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Marilyn. Should there be any questions about any of our votes today, our parliamentarian is Sheila Fellerath. It is customary that minutes of the annual meeting be approved by a special committee soon after the meeting. The 2020 annual meeting minutes were so approved by a committee and the board. The process for approving our minutes means that 3 members read the minutes which are sent to you by the secretary, make any corrections, and then return them to the secretary. Could I please have 3 volunteers to read and correct the minutes of this annual meeting? Do so by clicking the raise hand button on your reactions or participant screen icons in your Zoom page. Joanne, will you watch for those and read their
I
names?
see Marlene Barney. I see Lo Davis, L-O-W-E Davis. And we need one more.
It's not a hard job.
And there's Barbara Burrell. Thank you, Susan Odell. Sorry, you were the 4th person.
Thank you, ladies. Marilyn will send you the minutes for your approval.
Thank you.
We now come to the voting part of our program. Several motions will be presented for your consideration. At this time, Clarice Reber will present the proposed bylaws changes to Articles 2, 5, 6, and 9. Clarice, please unmute yourself. And Joanne, please share slides 3 and 4.
Good morning, everyone. An online copy of the proposed bylaws changes was emailed with the annual meeting program. You should also see them on the screen at this time. Members of the ad hoc committee for bylaw amendments were Bonnie Bouchard, Clarice Reber, and Marla Barthen. I move that the amendments to Articles 2, 5, 6, and 9 drafted by the ad hoc bylaws committee and recommended by the Board of Elections be accepted as proposed.
Clarice, you're still on.
Okay.
Do you need a second? Do you need a second for the
Can
motion?
you hear me?
Yes, please stop sharing the slide.
Okay, I guess we need a second for the motion.
No, we do
Second.
not.
No, we do not. Okay, sorry.
You're going to read us as the motion is recommended.
I thought I did. Did you all
Did you?
not hear that? I
Okay.
move that the amendments of Articles 2, 5, 6, and 9 drafted by the ad hoc committee and recommended by the board be
Mhm.
accepted as proposed.
Okay, we now
I
have,
think we need to say everyone please unmute themselves. I think that's what we're missing.
The motion has been recommended by the board, so it requires no second. We will have the discussion at this time, so everyone please unmute yourself and say your name as you ask the question, if there are any. Anyone have any questions about the bylaws changes? Hearing none. It has been moved that the proposed bylaws changes to Articles 2, 5, 6, and 9 be approved. All those in favor of the motion to approve the bylaw changes as proposed by the Ad hoc Bylaws Committee and recommended by the board, please say aye at this time.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, everyone, for your work on this committee and this project. Marilyn, we'll now mute everyone. Representing our budget committee, Bonnie Bichard will now present the 2021-2022 budget. Bonnie, please unmute yourself for the budget.
Hello, everyone. You will find a copy of the 2021-2022 budget in the program booklet and shared on your screen. I move that the proposed 2021-2022 budget as recommended by the Budget Committee and the Board of Directors be adopted. Everyone, please unmute yourself. Okay, is there any discussion?
Joanne, please stop sharing the slide.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Lo.
I see that we seem to have a small amount set aside for space rental. We've got municipal elections coming up in November. Are we planning to do forums this year?
Barbara, could you answer that question, please?
Yes, well, I can answer it for Brunswick County. Yes, we do plan to do candidate forums. Malton Island has already asked us to do one. We'll wait and see how many candidates and how much competition we have in all the other communities. And mostly we usually can get free space, but sometimes like in Southport, we have to ask special for it. But yes, at least for Brunswick County.
How about you, Hanover County?
I can't tell if Carol Ellis is here. Carol? Okay, Carol will definitely have a forum for the candidates for Wilmington Municipal this fall. The beach towns generally have other civic organizations that do that. So it's unlikely that we would do a second one for them. But yes, for Wilmington.
I'm pretty sure that Southport's going to want one. We have a mayoral and alderman election, and some of that's going to be pretty competitive.
Lo, are you concerned that there
I'm
isn't
planning
enough
on
money in the budget? Is that why you're bringing this
Yeah.
up?
Yes, that's my concern.
We have always been very fortunate to have partner organizations so that we could have free space for our forums. The money that's in the budget right now is so that when we go back to face-to-face hot topics and other meetings, we can pay a small stipend to use space that is not available to us otherwise.
I'd like to add at this time that you will notice that there is over $1,000 that is unallocated. This is also a very conservative budget because I did not know if we would have the same numbers renewing in June and July. Those are our big months for renewing. But based on past experience, this is an extremely conservative budget, and we may have up to $2,000 that is not reflected in this budget. And this is typically what we do. We do a very conservative budget based on what we spent last year. So it only shows what our spending has been in the past. In fact, we feel so comfortable with our budget and with our cash balance that we are going to be transferring $1,000 to a money market account to begin a reserve, which we can tap at any time.
Is there any further discussion? As there is no further discussion, it has been moved that the proposed budget for 2021-2022 be adopted as presented. Will make sure you are unmuted, and will everyone in favor please say aye?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? The motion has passed and the budget is adopted. Thank you all. And thank you to Randy, Laura Williams, and Bonnie for your service on this committee. Marlene, please go ahead and mute everyone again. Next, I refer you to the proposed programs found in your meeting booklet and on the screen. Bridget Tarrant will present the 2021-2022 programs. Bridget, please unmute yourself.
Okay, hi everybody. On March 10th, we held our program planning meeting to discuss and finalize our proposed goals for the upcoming year. Today, we will approve programs for 2021-2022. They're being shown on the screen now, but you also received these in the meeting program, and they are displayed on the screen now. I move acceptance of the board-approved 2021-2022 program for Lower Cape Fear. As this motion was passed and recommended by the board, it requires no second. If everyone could please unmute themselves. And Marlene, could you check that everybody's unmuted? I want to see if there's any discussion. So if you have any questions or concerns, go ahead, just say your name and then speak up.
Did you see Grace on the spot on the landing?
Okay, no discussion?
All right, well, hearing no further discussion, it has been moved that proposed programs for 2021-2022 be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And there are a few people not unmuted, so can we ensure everybody unmutes themselves so we get an accurate vote, please? Okay, so everybody that is up, everybody that's in favor, please say aye again.
Aye.
Thank you. And everybody that's opposed, please say nay. Okay, the motion has been adopted. Thank you, everyone. And Marlene, can you please mute everybody?
Those are great.
Everyone, please hit mute for you, Marlene. You got everyone? Okay. Jana Albritton, Chairman of the Nominating Committee, will now read the report of the committee. Jana, please unmute yourself.
Done and done. Okay. So the slate is found in the annual meeting booklet and is now, as your name is called, the nominees are asked to say hello so that they will be highlighted on our Zoom screens. Okay, slide is done. So we have co-president. Okay, and remember, whenever you speak, your face gets into the speakers box. Okay, so co-presidents are Marla Barthen and Bridget Tarrant.
Hello.
There she is. All right. First vice president is Sue Marsh. Have we got Sue Marsh today in attendance?
Hello.
Ah, there's your lovely face. Okay. All right. And then we have secretary nomination. Nominee is Leslie Antos.
Hi.
There she is. Hey. Director at large, Barbara Burrell.
Hi.
Very good. All right. And director at large, Mary Ellen Cole. Is she able to be with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are. Oh, outer space. Okay. Nominating committee. We have Ann Parvin,
Hi.
chairwoman.
Okay.
Brave lady. Okay. Then Randy Clegg is the elected member. Randy?
She's not here today.
Okay. So that concludes the slate that the nominating committee has presented before you today.
Thank you. Nominations are now in order from the floor. Please remember that you need to have the consent of the nominee before you place their name in nomination. Anyone nominated from the floor will have 1 minute to introduce themselves before we vote. Everyone, please unmute yourself. Marlene, you're going to check to make sure everyone is unmuted. Okay. Are there any further nominations for president? Speak up. Are there any further nominations for first vice president? Are there any further nominations for secretary? Are there any further nominations for director at large?
Madam Chair, may I point of order?
Yes,
May we keep everyone muted during this and only unmute if you do have a nomination, because I'm hearing some feedback from
Okay.
somebody's computer.
okay. Everyone, please mute yourselves.
I think the feedback was from Catherine's computer.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, sorry. Are there any further nominations for the nominating committee? Last chance. Did we miss anyone? You have a nomination to make? If there are no further nominations, the nominations are closed. And the list reads as presented. Co-presidents Marla Barthen and Bridget Tarrant. First Vice President Sue Marsh. Secretary Leslie Antos. Director at Large Barbara Burrell and Mary Ellen Cole. And the nominating committee Ann Parvin and Randy Clegg. Jana, will you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Madam Chair, I move acceptance of the nominating ballot by acclamation.
Everyone, please unmute yourself. We're going to do a voice vote. Well, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The nominees are elected. Congratulations, everyone. And thank you to the nominating committee of Janet Albritton, Maureen Kane, and Marilyn Pretty for assembling such a strong leadership team. I would now like to recognize the Lower Cape Fear Board for 2021-22, including continuing and appointed members. Our co-presidents, Marla Barthen and Bridget Tarrant, First Vice President Sue Marsh, Secretary Leslie Antos, Treasurer Bonnie Bouchard, Directors at Large, Barbara Burrell, Mary Ellen Cole, Joanne Leviton, myself, and Beverly Murray. The nominating committee is Ann Parvin and Randy Clegg, and there will be an additional member appointed by the board. Please welcome your Lower Cape Fear Board. Yay, everyone. Okay. Marlene, please go ahead and mute everyone. It's now time to celebrate. This is a really fun part of this program, and I hope you enjoy it. Mary Ellen Cole, with the help of Bonnie Bouchard, Marlene Barney, and many board members and action team leaders, has prepared a slideshow with pictures highlighting some of the activities and accomplishments of this very unprecedented year. Please enjoy it. And Joanne, will you please share?
Catherine, you're on mute.
I did my best to unmute. Bravo, everyone. That was pretty terrific. You should all be very proud of all that we accomplished in this year. And now I wish to extend some special thank yous and deep appreciation to a few individuals that I would like to call out by name, whose efforts represent all of us and what the League stands for is to strive and accomplish. 2020 marked the centennial of both the founding of the League of Women Voters and the ratification of the 19th Amendment. And you saw many pictures of that effort and the programs that we did around that during that slideshow. Thanks especially to Lynn Curta and Bonnie Bouchard, we honored the past in spite of the pandemic. When COVID-19 forced us to go virtual with voter education programs, Julie Hunt and Clarice Reber brought the fearless voters superheroines and heroes to life. Their social media messages brought fun and creativity to voting while conveying important election information. When meeting in traditional face-to-face settings was not possible, Carol Ellis and Barbara Burrell worked with the Lower Cape Fear communications team to arrange candidate forums and interviews via Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. These forums generated 772 online views, many more than could have attended in person. Ted Fuller cajoled candidates relentlessly, increasing their participation in Vote 411, the League's online voter guide, and giving those voters essential candidate information. Walter Hutchins was a plaintiff in a lawsuit brought by the League North Carolina to ease election rules on absentee voting. At 98 years of age, Walter told how difficult it was for him, blind, significantly hard of hearing, and living in a nursing home, to get to the polls to vote. The courts agreed and gave him personal relief, making it possible for him to vote by absentee ballot with the assistance of staff at his nursing home, which had not before been allowed. However, they did not give that relief to anyone else, so our efforts to make voting easier, not harder, continue. The extensive study on pre-K education done by Ann Eidelman, Barbara Carbonaro, Beth Hansen, and the Education Action Team was incorporated into a new public policy position for League of Women Voters North Carolina, adopted during the state convention in May. Thanks to the tireless work of Marla Barthen, Lower Cape Fear recruited its first student interns and partnered on several wonderful social and racial justice projects at UNCW, a collaboration that we hope will continue for many years. Our communications did especially important work in a year when staying in touch was so essential. Chair Mary Ellen Cole worked overtime to host Zoom meetings and events. She also brought our email system up to date, kept our membership informed, and posted recorded events to our YouTube channel. Joanne Leviton kept our website up to date and facilitated implementation of outreach circles. Marlene Barney promoted events and activities on social media and put together our monthly newsletter, The Essentials. To each and every one of you, and to all the people I did not name who did so much this year, we offer a collective thank you. And now I'd like to ask Bridget Tarrant to unmute herself and present something that's brand new for us, a Youth Leadership Award. Bridget.
Thank you. Our high school and college student members bring so much to our organization, and the board wanted to acknowledge the contributions from one student who embraced the mission of the League and went above and beyond to help reach our goals this year. Allison Tackett. Allison, can you say hi?
Oh my gosh, thank you all so much. Hello.
She's instrumental to DEI, Wyatt, and FEAT, in addition to serving on the board of directors this year. She shared what she gained from the Lower Cape Fear League with faculty and staff at UNCW, an excellent ambassador. So in review of Allison's contributions, the board would like to give her this special recognition, and further to make this award an annual offering for future students to aspire to. So congratulations, Allison.
Thank you all so much. I loved my time with the League.
And we loved having you be part of the League, Allison. You're one of many interns that did a lot for us this year on many of our committees, and we are looking forward to continuing that in the future. And now, with those thank yous, it is my great honor to turn the virtual gavel today over to your new Lower Cape Fear co-president, Bridget Tarrant. Thank you for your willingness to lead us into 21-22. Bridget, the gavel is yours.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you especially for your leadership throughout the pandemic. We've had a very productive year and appreciate all the efforts to get to where we are today. Some of these initiatives are already in progress as mentioned in today's program. If just wanted to introduce some of the initiatives that we'll be working on this next year. If Joanne can share the next slide. So some of these initiatives are already in progress, as has been mentioned in today's program. And we are an all volunteer organization, so we are seeking as much participation as possible to see them through. So please take note where you may be able to help us out. So our 2021 operational vision is shown on your screen right now, is to continue to engage a younger demographic. So continuing with the youth leadership program and creating a scholarship program. Also to facilitate our chapter becoming a more welcoming, inclusive, and accessible league. And then also incorporating the voter US's becoming a more welcoming league. And then next slide, please. And then we're also going to be working on incorporating a leadership track to help with our leadership development program and sustaining leadership in the league in the future. And then also improving our technology and communication. So Mary Ellen Cole has graciously showed us how to use Microsoft 365, which will be transitioning to this year, that will help us streamline our internal operations and action teams information. And then we'll continue using a hybrid approach throughout this year for meetings. If people have any skills they would like to share with the league, you can always email us at communications@LWVLCF.org. And then also stay informed of what's going on at through any of these options, through the website, through reading the essentials, or following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay, so also just letting you know that this is your chance, everybody that's attending today, to let us, the new board of directors, know what's important to you. So what are your priorities? Are there any emerging issues that you want the league to explore or concerns you want to bring to our attention? The floor is yours. So if everybody could please unmute themselves and just let us know, go ahead and say your name and speak and let us know if there's any issues or priorities you would like us to address. All right. Well, if there are no comments, then just you can feel free to reach out to the board at any time with your input. And I would now like to introduce Sue Ann Rush. She's a member of our Environment Action Team who will introduce today's speaker.
Before you do, Bridget,
sorry.
Jana did raise a hand. You had one raised.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I couldn't type as fast, so I put it into chat asking if your slide of the needs would be shared by email, if you could communicate that widely.
Sure, that would be a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
We can send those along. Thank you, Jenna. Sorry, I didn't see your raised hand. Sorry about that. Are there anything else before we move on to our presentation? Our speaker? Okay, so I'm going to introduce Sue Ann Rush. She's a member of the Environmental Action Team, and she's going to introduce today's speaker. So Sue Ann, if you could please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Madam Co-President. It's my honor to introduce our speaker, Brayton Willis, to you today. Brayton Willis graduated from Northeastern University with a civil environmental graduate engineer degree. He was in the Marine Corps. He's a Marine Corps veteran. He's a retired senior project manager and strategic planner from for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. As a side note, I know of his accomplishments and accolades during his career and wanted to initially incorporate them. However, it would take up too much time of his allotted time to speak. So I'm focused on his activities since he moved here. He's served as a member of the Wilmington Metropolitan Planning Organization, Citizens Advisory Committee for the 2045 Regional Transportation Plan update. He's a lifetime member of the NAACP. He served as a chairman of the Brunswick County NAACP Branch Environmental and Climate Justice Committee. Excuse me. He's been chairman of the North Carolina, obviously, Gullah Geechee Greenway Blueway Heritage Trail Project. He's married to Deborah Willis, an NC State graduate civil engineer, retired U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, senior project manager, and a recipient of the State of North Carolina Order of the Longleaf Pine Award. He's the proud father of 3 children, 2 flourishing grandchildren, and a therapy dog, Fenway, named in honor of Fenway Park, where the Red Sox play baseball in Boston. Drayton?
Well, thank you so much, Sue Ann. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, on behalf of Branch President Carl Parker for the NAACP, I thank you for allowing me to share some time with you to talk about a project that's extremely unique for the NAACP and unique for us here in Brunswick County. It is the North Carolina Gullah Geechee Greenway Blueway Heritage Trail Project. And before I get into the details of the project, let me set the stage for the basis of the project. Next slide, please. If we go back to the 15, 16, 1700s, 1800s, we had roughly 12.5 Africans who were enslaved and shipped across in wooden boats, chained to the bottom, essentially stripped of everything that they had, and brought here to both North and South America. Of that 12.5 million, roughly 10.7 million actually survived this passage, and about 400,000 landed here in what we call the Americas. Unfortunately, being stripped of all of their clothing, their everything, from their tribes, the only thing that they had with them, that they brought with them, is what they could do with their hands, what they could do with their minds, and what they could do with their hearts. These were incredibly resilient folks, strong folks, and what they did during this time of enslavement was develop a language. If you think about coming from West Africa, there were roughly 20 tribes that they came from, none of which were able to communicate to one another, and then they couldn't even communicate to their white owners. So they had to develop a language which eventually became the Gullah Geechee language. Their foodways, they had to redevelop, bring what they knew from Africa and develop their foodways here in the Americas with what they had. So incredible people. Next slide, please. So of those 400,000 or so that landed here in North America, there were many that came here to the Cape Fear region. And I use this old map to demonstrate where all of the old plantations were along the Cape Fear River. As you can see, there were numerous plantations, well over 70, many of which grew what was called Cape Fear gold rice. Most of these plantations, just about all of them, have disappeared over time. The only one that really exists in the older fashion is the Orton plantation. There are a few that are in disrepair, but if you were to fly over the Cape Fear River, you could actually see some of the old rice paddies that were carved out by these incredibly strong individuals. Next slide, please. So in recognition of their efforts and their dedication, their resilience, Congress in 2006 developed and authorized a national heritage area called the Gullah Geechee Corridor. It extends roughly from Jacksonville, North Carolina, all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida, and extends from the coastline in roughly 30 miles. It is almost 500 miles long and 1,200, almost 1,300 square miles in size. What I'm focusing on now is in the upper corner of this map, the Brunswick County portion of that. And the corridor was established to recognize all of the efforts of the African Americans who were enslaved and to preserve, protect, and celebrate those people who established and developed the coastlines for the different plantations that they had there. Next slide, please. So the notion of developing a greenway, blueway here in Brunswick County came about from several different ways. One was my participation on the WMPO Citizens Advisory Committee for the 2045 update. There was a lot of activity for the development of greenways, blueways, bicycle trails, not only in Brunswick County, but as well as New Hanover County. But the one thing that was missing, and we discovered this as we were going through our environmental justice reviews in the branch, was there was absolutely no recognition of the Gullah Geechee culture in any of the federally funded projects that were going forward here in our area. So we decided that we would embark on an effort to go out and find out if there was interest in establishing a route here in Brunswick County. And lo and behold, there was an enormous amount of interest, especially with some of the work that was going on in Navassa. And I'll talk about Navassa. I keep on saying Navassa, but it's Navassa. That's my New England cut on that. But next slide, please. So what we did is we laid out a concept for a trail that would go all the way from Navassa down to Southport. As you can see on this map, I've got a greenway and a blueway. Blueway being a route along the river that could be used by canoes and kayaks. And of course, the greenway would be both a bicycle and a hiking trail that would start all the way up in the northern end, up at Navassa, down to Southport, going along State Route 133 and weaving its way through Belleville, Leland, and again back into Navassa. And on this map, what we've got also shown is the East Coast Greenway. And the East Coast Greenway Alliance has become partners with us, as well as now the National Park Service. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a bit. But the objectives that we had for our Greenway, Blueway certainly was for educational outreach. We have so many new people coming to this area, and I discovered very quickly that not many knew about the Gullah Geechee people and their history in our area. Another feature of the Greenway, Blueway would be economic development. Ecotourism has become an enormous industry all across the country, and we thought it would be great to be able to marry the heritage, the learning part of what we have here with our connection to the river to the economic development side, certainly preserving and documenting additional history as we can. Greenway, Blueways promote healthy living. They also protect the environment. And as I said, it has the great potential to link to the 3,000-mile East Coast Greenway, which currently goes through Wilmington. We're going to take a little bit of a spur and bring it through Brunswick County as well. And lastly, pedestrian bicycle safety. Next slide, please. So from 2007 to 2019, statistics gathered by NCDOT showed that there was a lot of accidents which involved automobiles, bicycles, and pedestrians. This is a crash map, and as you can see, there was a heck of a lot of those incidences in the Wilmington area, and we had a number here in Brunswick County as well. The idea of greenways would be to get people off the roads and on safe pathways, both for pedestrians and bicyclists. So that's the basic element of greenway, and blueway certainly getting folks out onto the river and enjoying that. Next slide, please. So in 2011, North Carolina embarked on a survey. They had over 16,000 respondents that spoke about greenways and blueways. And to a T, everyone out there echoed what I just mentioned. Let's have some safe places for our people to walk and bicycles. Let's connect communities better, neighborhoods better. And if you've been paying attention to any of the legislation being proposed in the economic stimulus bills, there's about 10 billion in there for infrastructure funding for paths and greenways nationally. And we want to be in a position to be able to take advantage of some of that opportunity dollars. Next slide, please. Our folks up in Buncombe County did a little bit of a brainstorming event to get their citizens to think about what the benefits of greenways would be. This is a result of that, and I don't expect you to read it all, but obviously the benefits are just tremendous. And as I said, this slide documents how they felt about it up there north of us. Next slide, please. Another thing that our southern states have taken advantage of is celebrating the Gullah Geechee foodways. They also have got some projects out there where folks have gotten their bicycles and developed some trails. So we're trying to mirror that effort to bring awareness to the Gullah Geechee culture here in our area. Again, that goes back to ecotourism and the celebration of foodways. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to see the Netflix program, High on the Hog. It just came out. I would highly recommend that. It highlights Gullah Geechee foodways and what came over from Africa during the period of enslavement. Next slide, please. So our folks in Navassa have really got the ball rolling for the trail system. Mayor Euless Willis, Barn Sutton, their planning developer, are well on their way to develop a heritage trail up in their area. They are proposing access to the Cape Fear River for the Blueways, and actually developing trails, parks, and other ways to celebrate the Gullah Geechee corridor in the Navassa area. Mayor Euless Willis has also got a proposal for a Mose cultural center that's on the former Superfund site up there in Navassa. So there's a lot of things going on up there. We tip our hat to them. They are the on-ramp for our effort because of the progress that they've made. The Beatty brothers with Reeves Chapel Restoration and the African American Heritage Museum. Next slide, please. Leland certainly has also taken advantage of developing some multi-use paths. They are currently working on their 2045 Planning for Generations effort. If you live in Leland, I would strongly advise you to participate in this. It's a great effort to lay out what our future will look like for our kids and our grandkids. They also have planned a new Sturgeon Park, which is right on the Gullah Geechee corridor, Greenway, Blueway. And they're also working, if you've been around the town hall, working on multi-use paths to connect our schools to the municipal campus by virtue of multi-use paths along Old Fayetteville Road and other places as well. Next slide, please. That's an overview of the Sturgeon Park. It will also have kayak and canoe access to the Sturgeon Creek, which will lead out to the Cape Fear River, plus just a whole host of wonderful things for the general public to get out and enjoy the great outdoors. Next slide, please. Town of Belleville is also developing their own multi-use paths. They recently broke ground on about a half a mile's worth out by Belleville Elementary. They've worked on getting a grant to improve their kayak and canoe launch at their Riverwalk Park. And they're actually working on extending their boardwalk and trail access. They've got a plan afoot to take it all the way over to Battleship Park. And this is an interesting notion, which I'll just talk about in a little bit here. But along with all of that, NCDOT also plans to widen 4 miles of State Route 133 from Belleville down to roughly Mallory Creek, which would include, next slide, please, which would include a 10-foot wide multi-use path for both bikers and hikers that would be offset from the road. So your bicycles would actually not be battling it out with the cars that go back and forth on 133. Next slide, please. And this would be a typical cross section. You can see a proposed 10-foot shared path for bicycles and hikers. I'm thinking that I saw something recently that they may have advanced the design of this to be somewhere in the 2025 time frame. So we got our fingers crossed this would be a great asset for that area as well as it rapidly grows. Next slide, please. Brunswick County has got Blueprint 2040. This is another initiative that's out there. I'm not too sure if you can still comment on it, but this would give the county residents an opportunity to talk about land use and parks and recreation. I thought it was a great first step for Brunswick County. And the city of Southport is working with the Council of Governments to do a study and some preliminary design work for a 17-mile trail that will go up to 11 from Southport, Fort Fisher area, all the way to Stone Chimney Road at 17. So there's a lot of activity out there for which we are looking forward to partnering with these communities with our Greenway Blueway Trail. Next slide, please. And of course, out there celebrating the heritage of our area, we do have a lot to celebrate and more as we move down the road. But some of the significant areas, in addition to what's going on in Navassa, is the Brunswick Town Historic District. That is a great take for those that haven't gone down there. The Orange Plantation, even though they don't allow visitors, as I said, is probably the only surviving plantation that's still out there on the river. And then our folks down in Southport, they've got a wonderful historic district, and it's a great place to spend a day going around learning about what great things had happened in their area to celebrate our rich history and connection to the river. Next slide, please. When we started this effort back 14 months ago, I started reaching out to local governments and to find out whether or not we want to move forward with all of this, whether there was enough local interest to do that. Since then, these are all of the folks that we have reached out to, and amazingly, not a single one of these had anything negative to say. Contrary, they have been pushing, putting a shoulder in and back, saying, let's go, let's try to make this happen. We've gotten support from all of the local communities along our Greenway Blueway footprint. We've got letters of support. We've got Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor Foundation, really, really supportive of this. East Coast Greenway is partnered with us. Folks over in New Hanover County, the Cape Fear Cyclists, and the Terry Benji Foundation, really excited about this. And so there's been a number of folks, and they keep on coming in, different community groups and individuals expressing support and willingness. And we've actually received some really good grants from the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation, Moore Foundation, Duke Energy Foundation, Brunswick Electric. So we've gotten some seed money to get our project underway. But what is really significant about all of this is the National Park Service. We applied for a technical assistance grant from their Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Program. And just the other day, they notified us that we are going to be one of their grant recipients. And what makes this so special is it brings technical assistance to our program to help us work with the communities to flesh out a vision of what they see they would like to see it as a Greenway Blueway. But not only that, it brings in national recognition. We were one of 2 projects selected in the southeastern region of the National Park Service. And the scores on the grants, the criteria scores, were the highest they've ever seen for projects in the Southeast region. So we're really proud that we got that far, but we're even honored to have this great group working with us. We should see them probably coming in sometime in the August, September timeframe to work with our folks, our communities. Next slide, please. So the next steps, we continue to collaborate and outreach to folks like yourselves. As I said, we've got our technical assistance grant from the National Park Service. And we continue to explore grant opportunities, something that I had never ever done before. I've rapidly learned how to write some grants and been somewhat successful. But more than anything else, we need to have an army of supporters. And to that end, we, as I said, have had the opportunity to shake hands with some great folks. The Eagles Island Coalition recently came over, and we're talking about forming an alliance with them as well. Next slide, please. So here's where we're at. We've taken it from an idea, shared the idea, we've gained support, and the next step is community engagement. And that's going to be with the National Park Service, as I said. We have, as I said, received tremendous support. I just want to recognize a few of the folks here in this slide who have come on with either resolutions or letters of support, including the Southern Environmental Law Center. They heard about what we were doing. They came right in and said, let us support your effort as well. Next slide, please. So I put this slide in for those who like to ride bicycles or those who enjoy just getting outdoors. Back in 2016, the Gullah Geechee Youth Bike Team came here, even though this was a picture taken in Georgia, came here and rode through the streets of Wilmington down to Fort Fisher as part of an effort to emphasize the Gullah Geechee culture. And our comment back to those kids is our bikes are ready and waiting. We're going to plan to try to do this, to replicate this, but replicate it in Brunswick County. Next slide, please. So I put this on for the benefit of the audiences that I outreach to. If you want to learn a little bit more about the Gullah Geechee culture, Mr. Ron Days did a great presentation on TEDx. There's a link for that. Coming up on the 19th of this month, Juneteenth, Up Your Arts of Southport is going to have Anita Singleton Prather, who is a storyteller. Can you go back just a little bit? Who is a storyteller, will be on the 19th, every hour, telling a story about the Gullah Geechee. We will be set up down there at the same location. There's the link to that. And then George and Al Beatty have put together some video clips on the Gullah Geechee and Gullah Geechee corridor here in Brunswick County. So giving you those links if you'd like to go take a look at what they put together. Really good video presentations. Next slide, please. So on behalf of the members of our branch, President Carl Parker, I really thank you for the privilege of coming in and speaking to you today, sharing with you our ideas and where we're going with this. Next slide, please. And so at that, I'll take any questions that you folks may have.
Thank you, Brayton. I just wanted to ask one quick question about Orton Plantation. Are there any hopes of getting that open to the public at some point, or are you aware of anything?
A couple of things have happened over at Orton. I can't speak to the future of it, but I think at one time they did open it up and then they've closed it. They actually tried to develop a demonstration plot of rice growing, and that didn't work out too well. There was too much saltwater intrusion coming into the area that they had spent a lot of money to try to develop. So I'm not too sure what their future is. It would be great to be able to do that, but right now I can't speak to that.
Thank you so much for coming today, Brayton. I noticed that there's a lot of support from Brunswick County, including the Brunswick County government. I live in New Hanover County. Has there been any support other than the nonprofit groups? Has there been any support from our county government here?
Actually, we got support from WMPO. They issued a resolution of support and a letter of support to supply us with some of the activities and surveys and data that they have as we move forward. They've joined in. We have had interest all the way out to Pender County to expand the Greenway Blueway out in that direction through New Hanover. I'll just say this, right now, we're focusing on the 30-mile trail in Brunswick County. That is a huge chunk of a Greenway Blueway to try to work with. If we go out any further, I'm afraid we'll probably get stretched so thin until we develop an army of supporters, would be stretched so thin that we might lose effectiveness on what we're focused on right now. To answer the question about New Hanover County, I have not approached them. I certainly might be doing that in the future as we form an alliance with the Eagles Island group. So as we go, we're trying to get as many of the government agencies involved and get their support. So it may happen here in the near future, but we've been really focusing on Brunswick County.
Thank you.
Brayton, this is Catherine. You mentioned the High on the Hog video, but I didn't catch where that was. You said it was about the Gullah Geechee people.
Oh yeah, it's a great program. I was stunned at how well it was put together. It's on Netflix for those that have Netflix. It's a brand new program, and it talks about the African foodways and then how those African foodways were brought across with the enslaved folks to Americas and how that has influenced American cuisine. And with that, they've been able to weave in stories of the enslaved people, the Gullahs, and I thought it was very well done, and it's 4 short episodes, but really well worth watching.
Thank you.
I don't know
And
if there's
Brayton,
anything.
oh yeah, this is Bridget. I just had a question. Is there anything that we can do ourselves to help with this project?
Well, we're going to be reaching out. The group that we haven't really reached out to yet, aside from New Hanover County, and I apologize, I just haven't gotten there, but our elected officials. We are going to start marching to our elected officials for a couple of reasons. The state is proposing making this area down here a state trail, and we want to encourage them to do that. The East Coast Greenway, who is partners with us, that alliance, has been working hard to do that. We also want to be able to take advantage of any state dollars that may come through, both for our communities and for our region for development of trails, greenways and blueways. And then we also want to reach out to our US Congress and senators to make sure that we're able to take advantage of anything that comes through on an infrastructure bill, if that ever gets passed, that would lead some monies down to us, again, to develop trails. If you take a look at Brunswick County doesn't have a whole lot of greenways and blueways. They're coming, but we don't have a whole lot. If you take a look at other counties throughout the state, Buncombe I use as an excellent example, but up around Raleigh and some of those other areas that are a little bit more well-developed, they've taken advantage of developing these opportunities for their systems. It's a healthy way to celebrate our heritage and our connection to the Cape Fear River.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that informative presentation. And everybody, if there's no further questions, thank you for attending our annual meeting. Joanne, can you please share our last slide? We are an all volunteer organization. We have no paid staff. So whatever we decide are our priorities will not be accomplished without the support and participation of our membership. So you are seeing on the slide that ways that you can contact us if you have any suggestions or want to help out in any way. And as there is now no other business to conduct, the 2021 Lower Cape Fear annual meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.